Well, hello. It's Monday and it's Yolanda, and you know that means it's time for everybody at the table. I got my first listener complaint today, and it was related to this podcast because it didn't come out this morning, y'all. I'm so sorry. I was traveling this weekend, and my travels actually changed the course of what I wanted to discuss with you. And my listener very passionately was had their coffee ready and was ready to engage, and I'm coming out a little later than I normally do, but it's still Monday, so I'm really still on time. So listen, this week I attended an annual work conference that I usually go to, and as is often the case in corporate America, the higher you climb, the fewer people who look like me are in the room. And I was experiencing, I guess in retrospect, some anxiety that I didn't pick up on because I'm not generally nervous in these spaces. But it was quite interesting when I came home how I processed the experience of the week. I left on Thursday, didn't return until Sunday morning. The first thing I noticed is I couldn't sleep. For 3 nights, I barely got any rest. It wasn't just the hotel, although the pillows weren't the best and it was very loud. I was just restless, uneasy, and probably dealing with this underlying anxiety that I couldn't put my finger on in the moment. The second thing I felt like I was on the whole time. And if you know, you know. It's not that I was pretending, or in some worlds we call it code switching, but it wasn't even a code switch. It's as if I was in this really restricted place of how I operated. It's not that I was being inauthentic. I was myself, but wasn't my full self. I often say you can be your authentic self, but you can't be your full self at work. So I was very conscious of every word, every gesture, every move, watching what I said, how I ate, how I toasted at dinner, not putting on airs, but also not letting my guard fully down. And that was important for me, especially in this political climate. When I returned home, as I was processing, like I said, it hit me what I was experiencing. Recently, President Zelensky of Ukraine was at the White House with Donald Trump. I think it was like Friday. And I remember seeing clips of the press conference. And Zelensky was asked why he wasn't wearing a suit. His response was, when the war is over, I will put on a costume. He really ate with that because that was funny. He ate on that. But what resonated with me so deeply sitting in the conference is that I realized we were all in a costume. It was a room full of people putting on a show, performing for corporate America. And though I've always felt that way to some degree, this time it was glaring. And as aforementioned, I didn't fully process this until I got home. As I drove from the airport to my house, which is about a 40-minute drive, I must have yawned at least 10 times. And it hit me that my body was finally relaxing. The closer I got to home, the more I felt the pretense lifting. By the time I parked in my driveway, I could see and feel the tension leave my body. I took a deep breath and my whole system seemed to reset. I was on the phone with my daughter and she asked me, why do you think that is? Because I was explaining to her what I was experiencing. And she said, why are you counting your yawns? I said, because it's very clear to me that how much I haven't yawned in days. Then she asked, was I afraid, as if the anxiety was from fear? And I said, no, it wasn't fear. It was more so that though I was being my authentic self, I couldn't be my full self, and that there was a guard up that normally wouldn't be if I was in a more relaxed environment. And that was the difference. And it had me thinking, what are the costumes that we wear and how do we manage the costumes that we wear in corporate America? There's a delicate balance to existing in this common place, whoever you are. It's not just about being a Black woman, but whoever you are in your authentic self, there's a balance that you have to strike to be present in these moments, which is probably why I was having such a physical response to walking this tightrope. To be a part of the mainstream while knowing the room wasn't made for me requires a constant awareness of how you move, how you speak, how you take up space. And I get why some people say, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to play the game anymore. But if you're still in the room like me, I want to share a couple of things that I've learned from this experience that will help you reset, rebalance, and learn how to be present and process accordingly. Number one, know that the room is not your whole identity. And you have to create spaces where you can be your full self. What helped me on yesterday is when I landed, I had a birthday party to attend for one of my dear sisters in life that I do life with, her 60th birthday. And I was able to reset because I went into an immediate room where the people there knew me, received me. I danced, I laughed, and I could take down my guard. So you'll have to have places where you can take all of that off and be yourself. Number two is don't be afraid of the room. One of my favorite scriptures is do not be afraid of their faces. So you can't be so intimidated by the room that you close off completely, but you also can assimilate so much that you lose yourself in a brand that isn't yours. And we all know people who we've looked at and could see in life that really have shifted their entire being to be in a room. And then when they get kicked out or that space no longer fits them or they move on or others move on, they don't know who they are. So you have to protect yourself very intentionally to not assimilate too much to the rooms that you're in. Number three, know at the core who you are. And that's in conjunction with number two and number one. I think about my younger self and I can't imagine God allowing me into any of these rooms back then, because I don't know if I would have stayed true to myself or if I would have shaped myself into what I thought those in that room wanted me to be. I didn't understand then, but I know now that the doors that have opened for me later in life have opened at a time where I'm strong enough to walk in and stand fully there as uniquely Yolanda. And what's funny, people are attracted to authenticity. I walked into the rooms this week and people at every level were seeking me out. Not because I was trying to impress them, but because I was standing in my full truth. And that's where the power is. But even with that understanding, I still know my guard was up. And so I'm a little baffled. I'm working out this dichotomy of presence as I speak into this mic. If you've listened to this full episode, I'd love to hear from you. How do you navigate putting on the costume? What are the lessons you've learned or the challenges you're still facing when it comes to sitting at tables that I won't say you're not ready for, but are different than you're normally comfortable sitting at? As you can see, I'm working through this in real time. I don't have the answers, but these are the lessons I'm learning. And maybe there are still lessons that I have yet to learn. So I would love for us to walk this out together. As always, share your comments literally about this topic. I would love to have a discussion in the comments about this, and maybe we can have some follow-up conversations on it. In addition to that, Continue to like, listen, and share the podcast. I'm having an amazing time sharing these moments with you, the listeners, and me as a listener and as a content creator here. And as always, thanks so much for listening. Until next week, take care and dine well.